Welcome to this week's edition of Texas Border Watch. I'm Jordan Elder. This week, Texas Land Commissioner Dawn Buckingham has identified 2 more islands that she says are Texas territory. One is called Roma Island. The other one is called Beaver or Bowers Island, and they're both near Roma, Texas. One's about 12 acres, the other is about 20, and that's what we know for sure. But there has been some controversy brewing about what's really happening on those islands. So in her original statement about these islands, Buckingham says they have been used by smugglers and law enforcement, and the community will be safer if Texas clears them out. She specifically said in the news release that it is a cartel-infested border island. And then in her letter to President Trump, she said smuggling operations and stash sites for weapons and other illicit activities are taking place on these islands. So obviously, a big deal if there is cartel activity happening on this land that she says belongs to Texas. Now, because the GLO made this determination, Texas DPS and the military department can go to these islands and clear them out. We've seen them do this with a couple islands already. But here's where things kind of switch up. DPS and the Texas Military Department have come out with their own statement saying that there is not cartel activity on these islands. I'm going to take this full screen so you can see it. They say there's operational control in this area, and the state of Texas will never allow its territory to be claimed in that way by cartels. The statement also says that Fronton Island, which the state claimed in 2023, did have cartel activity, which they handled. But these islands aren't a case like that. Buckingham pushed back, though, posting an email from someone in the Texas Military Department. The names are blacked out, though, as you can see. It says, quote, "These locations are being used by cartels for smuggling operations and as stash sites for weapons and other illicit activities." That was sent in February. We've requested an interview with Buckingham about this, but have not heard back. For some context, the state of Texas has reclaimed several islands in the Rio Grande for the sake of border security. The biggest one was Fronton Island in 2023, like we talked about a little bit earlier. That island launched Operation Flat Top, which is where crews went in and took out the Carrizo cane. They installed fencing and razor wire and made it somewhere that smugglers and cartels could no longer go and could no longer use as they tried to continue their activity further into the United States. The federal government pushed back on the idea that Texas owned Fronton Island, but that was under the Biden administration, and so nothing really came of that. The GLO has also declared other islands near Eagle Pass as Texas territory, but they've been very active in Starr County, which is where these islands are. That's where the state took over a 1,400-acre ranch that Buckingham offered up to the Trump administration if they wanted to use it for the mass deportation project, using it for things like facilities and staging areas, but at last check, there hadn't been any construction there. We're about halfway through the legislative session in Austin, and lawmakers are starting to take a look at some of the border bills that have been proposed, including one that would create an Office of Homeland Security within the Texas Department of Public Safety. There's a new finance report out about that bill, and it says that this could result in a $7 million loss by August of 2027. State Senator Sarah Eckhart questioned the bill's author about if border security operations are going to become a permanent part of the DPS command structure. Take a listen.
Is it your intention that with this bill, our border security operations would become a permanent fixture within the DPS command structure?
While it is a federal government responsibility primarily, the federal government cannot do it alone. And the state of Texas must protect itself and its citizens.
Later on, Eckhart said Texas has invested a lot of money in immigration, which is widely considered a federal responsibility. She added that she believes Texas agents would better be used in addressing crime that happens on Texas soil. State Senator Tan Parker, who filed the bill, says having a Homeland Security operation in Texas would help improve critical infrastructure protection and emergency preparedness. We've also got some new video for you of the U.S. Army Stryker vehicles that have rolled into the El Paso sector and the Big Bend sector here in Texas. They've got 8 wheels. They're known to operate well in terrains like the border because they're not as heavy as regular armored vehicles. We're also told that they're really good with surveillance. They come equipped with a lot of different cameras and sensors that make them ideal for use on the border, according to the Army. Border Patrol officials call them a force multiplier and say these federal resources are a big reason why crossings are going down.
National security cannot exist without border security, and the presence of vehicles like this are not only a deterrent of illegal migrants that are looking to cross into the United States, but also to human smugglers and criminal organizations, sending the message that no, we are not playing. Officer presence goes a long way. So that's part of the show of force here in El Paso sector. So the optics of vehicles like these, it's a deterrent factor, but also their capabilities of tracking and observing and reporting to our agents of any illegal entry. The placements are based on operational needs.
The spokesperson for the El Paso sector of Border Patrol says they're hoping to get more of these vehicles soon, really to help send their message. He said there weren't any gotaways on the day that this press conference was held, saying that shows the presence of the Department of Defense and Border Patrol is working. If you want to read more in depth about any of these stories, you can do that over on our website. For now, I'm Jordan Elder.